Oh, yes. What's going on, everybody? It is Wednesday night. We have got UFC Vegas 62 coming up on Saturday. We've got UFC 280 coming up next Saturday, about 10 days from now. But I'm ready to talk about either of them tonight. This particular card that's coming up on Saturday has got a lot of really fun fights. But as far as trying to find spots that I'm confident in gambling on, it's been a little bit difficult to deal with. But the next card, man, I mean, like you look at the fights on the next card, and then I saw that Marcel Dorf dropped the UFC Orlando card. Holy shit. Wait until you see how many bangers are on UFC Orlando coming up in December. We just got a taste of that one. That one is going to be super fun too. But we've got 12 fights on this card. The Brito Alexander fight is the one that's been most recently added. And the other 11 have been around for a minute. I'm ready to talk about any of them with you guys. I've got my prop templates out. I've got my database out. I've got my matchup stats out. So let's talk about these fights. Let's see who's hanging out in the chat with us right now. The Daz Files, my guy, the very first one in the room, saying, let's cash stack tickets like flapjacks. I say that sometimes, but that's usually when I'm messed up, because it's supposed to be let's stack cashed tickets like flapjacks, but we could also cash the stacked tickets where we have a stack of cash. I mean, it works either way. And when I'm a little bit drunk, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to pronounce. This evening, I've got a fine cognac with me. As I'm easing into the evening here, I'm easing into the twilight of the content of this week and getting ready to wake up to content creation for UFC 280, perhaps as early as tomorrow or the next day. But tomorrow, I'm going to be on my guy Wiz Bet's show, Personality Pick. We're going to be doing it, I believe, 6 o'clock Central Time, or maybe it's 6 o'clock Eastern. I'll have to check my DMs. But either way, we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about this card. We're going to talk about our leans, see if we can find some bets that we agree on. And I'm going to see if I would agree with any bets on this card with you guys. Maybe you can help me out. I've literally got one tracked bet for this fight. It's 1 unit on CJ Vergara at plus 195. I don't even love that bet. I'm a big Tyra fan. I just think that the line is wide, and CJ's the kind of fighter who can just give really technical fighters problems with that pressure, with that pace, with that durability, and with that power. So I'm looking to find some other spots, and hopefully you guys can talk me into something or give me a reason to give a shit about any of these other fights from a gambling perspective, because some of the spots that I do like, they're just overpriced, because I think that these fights are kind of easy to predict. And because of that, all the money's coming in on one side. So we got to figure out some spots together, you guys. We got Mushroom in the room saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Uncle Weezy? 3 more sleeps until violence. Hope it's story time with Uncle Weezy again tonight. Maybe I'll think of a story to tell you guys." But yeah, we had a fun time last night with story time. Always enjoy doing that with you guys, and I kind of felt like we had to, improve last night's show with a little bit of story time. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as always, it's time stamped, so you guys can always go and check that one out. It was a fun one. We got Jenna Doyle in the room saying, "Uncle Weezy, what it do? What's up, Jenna? Thanks for hanging out with us tonight on Ask Weezy. Feel free to ask me any questions you have about the 12 fights on this card, the next card, whatever we got going on in the future. I've got my screen ready to share with you guys when we need to talk some numbers here." And we got Level Up in the room saying, "Oi, Uncle Weezy with the stats. Let's go. I'm ready to get this stack. I'm ready to get it too, but I would be happy with even plus money on this card. Just even if I end up at 0, I'm fine with that, just because it's not just about keeping my powder dry for next week. It's about avoiding fights where my prediction lines up with what the bookies are pricing the lines at, and because of that, I'm not seeing value either way. I don't see value in either fighter. And in the times when I see only fighter A having value, what I'm seeing is that it's just juice to the tits. Like for instance, like if you want to bet that under in the Pete Rodriguez Mike Jackson fight, dude, that ship has sailed a long time ago. I mean, you're just paying up, hoping that Pete Rodriguez is actually good enough to finish a fighter that didn't just get off their Uber Eats shift 15 minutes ago and then run into the cage to get their little show money check in Icon FC or whatever place that he's been fighting. So yeah, let's go level up. Let's try to find some spots here. We got my guy Victor Jesus in the room saying, "Oi, yes, what's up, Weezy in chat? Let's stack them high. Let's get them. I'm not going to be stacking them particularly high this week, but if I can get any plus money, you guys, I'll be real happy about that. And then I'm ready to throw some shit against the wall on UFC 280, man. I want to be betting on all those fights. We got Bob Spikerman's in the room, checking in from across the pond, saying, "Thank you, Weezy, the big boss. Please, your opinion on Cub Swanson dealing with Martinez leg kicks. Pineda destroyed Cub's leg real early, and Pineda has zero footwork and is a gasser." Yes, Pineda absolutely chopped down Cub Swanson like a tree. I had a bet on Cub Swanson that day, and I was like basically figuratively tearing up my ticket already after round one in that one because man, oh man, I didn't think he'd be able to get up off the stool. So yeah, this is a problem. You know what I think is going to be the biggest problem for Cub is, you know, the leg kicks and the body kicks. But in addition to that, now he's cutting down to 135. He's got Dan Argueta answering questions for him at today's presser saying that he's resting his voice. And when you cut a lot of weight, one of the things that your voice might do is it might go up an octave. So he probably would have sounded unrecognizable due to having a really nasty weight cut. And that's a definite possibility here. So I said that I would be willing to pick Swanson if he looked good on the scales. If like they, you know, if they open that weigh in and he's one of the first 10 guys on the scale, he walks up there with some energy, he looks good, you know, then maybe it's worth taking a shot on a 38-year-old who just made the 135 cut for the first time in his career, worrying about if he's going to have the same endurance, worrying about whether he's going to carry that same power after that weight cut, whether he's going to have the gas tank that he had at 145. And then whether he's going to be chinnier, which is definitely a possibility when you cut that much weight. So, yeah, the Martinez line, you know, I think Martinez wins this fight, and I'm picking him until I see Cub on the scale looking good, looking like he's ready to go. Yeah, the pick is Martinez. But am I laying minus 215 on Jonathan Martinez? Am I that confident about his chances to beat a guy in Cub Swanson who has fought just way better competition over the course of his career? You look at the names on Cub Swanson's resume and some of those wins, they're way better than the names on Martinez's resume. And Swanson's used to getting hit by 145ers where they carry a little more power. So, yeah, I think that, you know, Martinez is very live, you know, and just didn't like what I saw on Twitter today about this guy not even answering questions, dude. Like I said on the DraftKings show earlier today, you know, speaking is like the easiest thing that a mixed martial artist does every day. I mean, the way that these guys train, the way that these guys lift, the way that these guys spar, you know, to think that you're resting your voice, you know, I mean, if you can't talk, how are you going to get into a cage and fight? So I'm worried about Cub here. This is the cut down to 135 for the first time in his career at 38 is very concerning. And we got Silky B in the room saying, "Fired up for your shows more than the fights this week." I appreciate you, Silky B. Yeah, man. I think these fights are fun, you know, but I think gambling on fights is more fun, and winning on money on fights is even more fun than gambling on the fights. So if you're not seeing spots where you're confident in your bets, then there's no reason to gamble. So yeah, I could see why maybe you would be a little more fired up for Ask Weezy than you would be for watching the Manny Martinez Brandon Davis fight, for instance, which is going to be a fun fight. But like from me, I got no money on that fight, dude. I just not laying the juice on Mana. The plus money isn't big enough for me to bet on Brandon Davis, who I don't think is that great. So yeah, I'm just staying away. And yeah, that's what I encourage you guys to do. If you don't have strong opinions, stay away and keep that powder dry for next week. Papa Chuck saying, question for the Weez. I know you live on the north side. Are you a Cubs or a White Sox fan? A Cub fan, lifelong Cub fan. Grew up on the northwest side, in the suburbs actually, in Park Ridge. But yeah, always been a Cub fan, long suffering Cub fan until 2016. But they had really good years in 2014, 15, and 16. Then it all kind of fell apart like a Chinese motorcycle. But that's all right, man. We got our World Series. So happy that we got the World Series, and now the team is not great. Lost all of our stars. The money isn't there to pay them. A lot of money was spent updating the stadium. They got a big bill from the city which came due, and I think the guy that bought the team got a loan from his father that he had to pay back at the same time. So I don't think the money was there to pay the guys, and especially if they weren't going to be a playoff team. So yeah, they're rebuilding. But yeah, always been a Cub fan. I know the White Sox are. I mean, frankly, I didn't pay any attention to baseball at all this year. All my time goes to MMA. But yeah, always been a Cub fan. And like I said, man, just 2016 was the best, absolute best to get that World Series. Jet Weapon in the room saying, "Oi, Weezy, always missed the live, but always watching your vids. Love the channel. Much appreciated, sir. By the way, I'm in Melbourne, Australia. Peace out." All the way down under there in Melbourne. Big ups, Jet Weapon, for watching. I appreciate you, brother. I'm glad you got to watch a live stream for once, my man. And I hope to see a lot more of you in the future. Thanks for supporting the content. Much love to you, brother. Much love to everybody down there in the Southern Hemisphere, New Zealand, Australia, always standing up in here. We always got our guys like Dan Goldstein, like Daz Files, like Nigel Lee. A lot of those guys are always in here representing for Oceania. We got T-Rex in the room saying, "Uncle Weez, hope you're doing good. Doing some DFS this weekend. Wish me luck." Yeah, man, this is a good week for DFS. There's not a lot of fights that you would want to fade from a DFS perspective. So definitely like that this week. I think it's a better week for DFS than it is for betting. So good luck on that. And check out the show on Pub Sports Radio that we did earlier today, where me and Monk and Gordo and Lou Betty were giving our DFS leans for the week. Always giving you some pretty good content over there to try and make your DFS lineups better. So check that out, T-Rex. Thanks for hanging out, brother. We got Lamar Lockett in the room saying, "Hey, Weezy, which fights are likely to end in submission?" All right, so let's have a look here at these stats that I've got on my screen for you guys. This is UFC 280. So this is UFC Vegas 62. So I don't think that Mike Jackson or Pete Rodriguez even knows how to complete a submission hold. So that one, definitely not. Tatsuro Taira versus Vergara. I think it goes to decision, but I think that this one can end by knockout. I think it could end by submission, or it could go to decision. I think that Taira is very well-rounded. CJ's got a lot of power, but we can see that CJ's really only knocking guys out, and Tatsuro's got a 45% submission rate as a pro. So he's got 5 of his 11 wins by submission. And I think that Taira getting on CJ's back is his best path to winning minutes in the grappling and to potentially getting a submission. So I could see that one ending by submission. Not likely that Rodriguez Hughes ends by submission. Brito Alexander, Joe Anderson, Brito's got a lot of submission wins. Lucas Alexander is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, so that could potentially end by submission. And Joe Anderson's got a really nice front choke, so that could end by submission. Austin Sal Henry, I think, is a lot more likely to end by knockout. But Victor Hendry has got a 36% win rate by submission and 27% by knockout. And Austin Sal has won more fights by submission in his career than he has by knockout. Both of these guys, Rafael Assunção has been submitted a couple of times as a pro and one time in the UFC. But I don't think it's likely that this one ends in submission. Maximov Malkoun could end in submission because these guys are probably going to be grappling for the whole fight. Martinez Davis, not really likely. Davis has some submissions on his record, but Mana Martinez does not. He's never submitted anybody in his career. Serkinov Menafield could absolutely end by submission. Todorovic Wright could end by submission. And I think the Dusko by submission is actually a sneaky look this week because Jordan's very dangerous on the feet, but Jordan's got a trash ground game, and nobody really tries to take him down. Look, 6 UFC fights for Jordan Wright. He's only had 2 takedown attempts against him in his whole career at the UFC level. So what happens if Dusko, who shot 28 takedowns in 6 fights, decides to employ a wrestling-heavy game plan to kind of wear on Wright early, get those arms filling up with blood, maybe tire him out, make him a lot less dangerous that he would be later on in fights where we don't really get to see what Jordan Wright looks like because he's already either sleeping or his opponent's sleeping 5 minutes into the fight. So I think Todorovic, if he wants to stay safe and fight smart, should be trying to take Jordan Wright down early. And if he does that, he could potentially get a submission because, Marc-Andre Barrios submitted him. Bob saying, enjoy your drink, man. About to roll up some Rolex OG. Let's do the damn thing. Let's do it, Bob. It's evening time here in Chicago. So, we've got to get our little thing that loosens us up a little bit, lets us ease into that night a little bit. And for tonight, it's a little bit of Remy Martin for me. And it's complex, it's flavorful, it's lovely. So enjoy that Rolex OG. That is not a strain I've had before, but it sounds lovely. Victor De Jesus saying, hey, Weezy, I'm feeling very confident on both Rosa and Petrosian, making them my top 2 bettable tickets. What do you think of that? Would you feel confident to build on top of those 2? Yeah, actually, Brady and I were DMing the other day, and he was saying, I'm very confident in Rosa. He likes, her chances against Alina Landsberg, that's 40 years old, coming off of a pregnancy. But Lena didn't look bad against Pani in her return fight after the 2-year layoff. So, she's not bad. Lena Landsberg is decent, but I think that Rosa should be winning the striking exchanges. She's just got to stay off the fence because Lena likes to put your back on the fence and wear on you. So let's take a look here. We've got these stats, Vic. So let's check them out, right? Let me see. So we got Landsberg and Rosa there, and here are the matchup stats. 150%. All right, so Rosa's 13 years younger. You gotta love that, right? And she's got a 2-inch reach advantage. You gotta love that. Plus, she's actually the more experienced mixed martial artist here with 3 more fights, about 15 more minutes in the cage, and about 6 more months as a pro. Lena Landsberg didn't even turn pro until the age of 30. So that's very interesting. Lena's got more experience at the UFC level, about 45 more minutes in the cage and 4 more fights. Lena has never finished a UFC win, and neither has Carol. And neither of these ladies, Carol has not been finished, and Landsberg's been knocked out twice. Look at the striking stats for these ladies. Hossa throws a ton more volume than her opponents do. She's landing more than 2 more significant strikes per minute than her opponents do. Landsberg's getting out-volumed and outlanded. Rosa's got the better striking defense. They're almost identical in striking accuracy, and the power numbers are very similar. Rosa is the more willing wrestler at about 3 takedown attempts per fight rather than Landsberg with about 2 takedown attempts per fight. Rosa out-controlling her opponents at a 2-to-1 ratio, and that's having fought Sarah McMahon, who absolutely drowned her on the ground. So Hossa wasn't giving up any control time until the Sarah McMahon fight. And Sarah McMahon, to be fair, did the exact same thing to Lena Landsberg. Landsberg, 48% takedown defense. So Rosa will be the one that's more likely to be able to keep the fight on the feet should the other one choose to wrestle. So, yeah, I mean, Hossa looks like she's the much better fighter here. In terms of strength of schedule, it's similar. Landsberg, a little bit better ratio, a little more total fights. The wins, pretty similar for both fighters. But look, Hosa's 13 years younger. She's the much better minute winner on the feet. She's got to keep her ass off the cage. And if she can do that, she should be able to easily beat Landsberg. And then the other fight you said was Petrosian against Dobson. Now, I don't know if Dobson really has an offensive wrestling attack. But he does train with Mark Coleman. So you would imagine that the guy has got some kind of top game, some kind of ground and pound. He's a big middleweight, that is for sure. Interesting fight. These guys are similar in age, but Dobson's got a 5-inch reach advantage. And the thing about Dobson is that while Petrosian is way more technical on the feet, the guy just is a pleasure to watch kickbox. And he's been in there with Gregory Rodriguez too, and fought a really close fight with Rodriguez for 3 rounds. He got the nod. I thought Gregory won that one, but either way, it was a close fight. Dobson is not on that level of kickboxing, but Dobson's got serious power, one-punch power. So if Dobson can mix in the wrestling a little bit, I think that, he can make this fight interesting. But here's the thing, Vic. 39.73%, striking defense for AJ Dobson. That is going to be a problem if that's how he's defending at distance against Armen Petrosian, because we can't count on Dobson to really wrestle because we haven't seen it yet on tape that much. I've got to do a deeper dive on Dobson. I was actually up late watching tape on Petrosian. This is one of the first fights that got my attention. And yeah, and even if Dobson does wrestle, the problem for Dobson is that Petrosian cut his teeth in Russia, and he's used to dudes wrestling the shit out of him. So yeah, I do like Petrosian here. I think they're 2 great spots to start from. Peter Yan would be another one that I'm very confident in. Be a lot more confident if it was a 5-round fight, but it's a 3-round fight. So that's the only thing that's keeping me from really loading up on Peter Yan and potentially max betting the Peter Yan money line. Is the fact that I gotta worry about him maybe keeping it close in the first. But I think he's going to march down Sean O'Malley. I think he's going to walk forward the entire time, and I think he's going to make Sean absolutely miserable here. So that's what I see going on there. But I think they're 2 great spots to start from. There's not a lot of good arguments for how Dobson wins this fight, Vic, and there's not a lot of great arguments other than Lena puts Carol Hosa's back up against the cage for 10 minutes out of the 15 that she wins this fight. So I think they're great spots to start. That's a great question, Vic. Thanks for asking it, brother. And we've got Bob saying, Weezy, the only choice this week is a crazy juiced up 2-team parlay. For example, Serkinov fight doesn't go to decision. And of course, Beverly Hills Ninja under. Yeah. Not a lot of value on it, but I still hope to cash these parlays. Yeah, on probability this week on the MMA Engine YouTube channel, we did the probability parlay, which is just the under 1.5s in the Misha Serkinov fight and in the Jordan Wright fight. 2 great under 1.5s fighters that consistently are under 1.5 at a much higher rate. For instance, here, let's look at the prop template here, and I will zoom in on this so you guys can see. But this is interesting. Yeah, we got it already here. So at minus 115, now I know it's moved away from there, right? We were overpaying by 7.08% when we compare the under 1.5 rate at 205 as a whole in 3-round fights since 2013. That number is 46.41%. That's how often fights go under 1.5 rounds. And we're paying at minus 115, mind you, 53.49%. So when you take that benchmark and you subtract the implied probability of the line, you get a negative 7.08%. But we're getting a positive 19.24%, which means that these guys are finishing inside the distance. It would be 73.674. 73%, 76%. These guys are going under 1.5, and you're only paying 53% at minus 115. So it's one of those bets that, even though it is a little bit juiced in terms of how under 1.5s are juiced for that division, these guys are finishing under 1.5 at alarming rates. And it's the same thing for Todorovic and Wright. I mean, for Christ's sake, that's a minus 215. And I think it's probably minus 230, 240 by now. But still, you're underpaying by 6.75% because these guys are under 1.5 collectively between the two of them 75% of the time at the UFC level. So they're actually under 1.5 at a 38.11% rate higher than what the division does in 3-round fights. So they're two great violent spots. I mean, it's MMA, anything can happen. But yeah, they're two of the safer spots, but they're both juiced to the tits. And that's the mantra on this card. It's a bunch of fights where, like, yeah, I should bet the under, or the fight doesn't go in the Jordan Wright fight, but the fight doesn't go, is sitting at minus 600. There's no value there. So we got to pick our spots, and we got to dig a little bit deeper into the weeds to find the spots that the rest of the crows haven't gotten to yet and eaten up. So Pete Rodriguez inside the distance and Malkoun over. Yeah, those are two great spots as well. I mean, you got to figure that if Dead Game wins this fight, it's not going to be by decision. I don't think he's got a ton of amateur fights. He's got 5 pro fights, and he's never won a decision in his career. So, you got to believe that if Pete does get the job, it's going to be inside the distance, So, Mushroom in the room saying, what's up to everybody that's hanging out? Good to see you in here. And we got Papa saying, what's up to Mushroom? Papa Chuck over there grinding it out at work. Mushroom brother, what's up, dude? And hey, Weezy, what are your most confident plays for UFC 280? What would you max bet? So I already max bet the fight doesn't go to decision for the main event. Oliveira versus Makhachev, because we can see that 30 fights for Charles Oliveira at the UFC level. He's got 19 finish wins, and he's got 7 finish losses. So I think, if my math is correct, it's something like 86.67% of his fights have finished inside the distance. And this is a 5-round fight. So Charles Oliveira has only seen the distance in 3-round fights. He's never once been the distance in a 5-round fight. And with the chaos that he brings, he's either getting Makhachev out of there, or Makhachev is going to get him out of there. There's going to be a battle of attrition here, and both fighters are going to get hurt. But yeah, I got it at minus 176, and I believe right now that it's not anywhere near there. Best fight odds. We're going on to UFC 280. There we go. The fight doesn't go now, sitting at minus 350. I got it minus 176 because FanDuel opened it there for some reason. I have no idea why, but when you see a line that off, you have to smash it. That's what, you have to max bet that kind of stuff. So I jumped at it as soon as I saw it. I told everybody in my Patreon, in the Discord, hey, they screwed this line up, so get on it right now. And it's moved. And it's probably going to move more. This thing probably closes closer to minus 500. I like Bilal Muhammad at plus 120 on DraftKings. I think that's a great look for a guy who's a fantastic minute winner, and for a guy who has made his entire UFC career, Bilal Muhammad has, fighting to his opponent's weaknesses. He's just such a smart fighter. He's such a fucking pleasure to bet on. Bilal Muhammad, like I want to put a poster of him on my ceiling, so I just see that face every morning when I wake up and every night when I go to bed. Because if I do that, it reminds me, this is the kind of fighter I want to bet on. This is the kind of guy who I'm never going to be throwing my remote at the television screaming, go for a fucking takedown, you moron. Or why are you jumping into his guard? I'm never going to fucking say that in a Bilal Muhammad fight. If Bilal Muhammad loses a fight, it's going to be because he's just less skilled everywhere than his opponent and because he can't find a way. Brady's got holes. He's not a great striker. He's just not a great striker. And we just saw, Bilal Muhammad strike with Vicente Luque mixing in those takedowns for all 5 rounds. He's winning minutes on the feet against Luque. If you're winning minutes on the feet against Luque, Sean Brady, who was, going hammer and tongs with Court McGee on the feet, and Court's a much better grappler than he is a striker. I think that it's a great spot for Bilal Muhammad here. If Beneil Dariush is healthy, getting him at plus 160 seems like a gift. Don't forget that Gamrot may not have won that fight against Sarukian. That was just a very, very, very close fight. But Beneil Dariush, his grappling is top notch. I mean, he's right there on the exact same level with Gamrot, and the striking is right there. I mean, this is a 50-50 fight where one of the guys is younger and he's coming off a great win. But I mean, let's talk about the wins that Dariush got. So I do like Dariush at plus money. I almost bet Mahmoud Muradov at plus 230 because that just seemed wrong. But then I missed that. And now it's moving to where I think the line is a little more fairly priced. And now Caio Bahaio, you could get him at minus 200. Caio Bahaio, another fighter that I should have a picture of on my ceiling because great fight IQ, great decisions. He fights to his opponent's weaknesses. And when you do that, and when you're well-rounded, you have good conditioning, good durability, good fight IQ, you make good decisions. What happens then is you stack cash tickets like flapjacks, plain and simple. Those are the kind of fighters we want to bet on. There are several of them on this card. Islam Makhachev, Jailton Almeida, Caio Bahaio, Peter Yan, Bilal Muhammad, Beneil Dariush and Mateusz Gamrot, Manon Fiorot and Caitlin Chookagian. Lucas Almeida is going to be very interesting at plus money versus Zubaira Tukhugov. I like Krylov over Ozdemir. I just don't see it anymore with Ozdemir, and I think Krylov is always dangerous. I think anybody at plus money versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov is a good bet. And Godzi is a guy who I can count on to make good decisions in the cage. He might roll for the occasional leg lock, but other than that, I think he's a smart fighter. Petrosian's a solid spot. Makayev is juiced to the tits. I don't think we can really do much there. Mustafayev juiced to the tits. I'm not laying minus 250 on Karol Hossa because I have retired from laying juice on women's MMA. And then Sterling Dillashaw, I got to look into. I've really got to look into that one. I have no idea what I think of that fight yet. But for the most confident plays, I love the Bilal Muhammad money line, and I love that fight doesn't go to decision and the violence in that main event. And there's probably some other violent spots, but I'm gonna have to make up the prop template and look at what spots stick out. And then we got Not in the Ambro saying it's really strange for a veteran fighter to not speak for themselves during a press conference. So I guess now my weight cutting days ended back in freshman year of high school with wrestling. So I've heard that when you cut too much weight, it can send your voice up and make it very high pitched. So I heard Pat Miletich say that once, so I'm taking his word for it. So yeah, he's cutting down to 135 for the first time in his career. He's 38 years old. People were very concerned when Jose Aldo did the same thing. And Aldo looked good. So we have to open the possibility that Cub does this the right way. He rehydrates, and on fight day, he's ready to go, and he's just bigger than his opponent for the first time in his career. But I mean, you got to see Cub on the scales. If you're betting Cub Swanson right now, you are tempting fate because he could look like death warmed over on the scale. And then you're going to be wearing that ticket. And whatever plus money you got on that ticket, you could have gotten way better plus money after all these sharps see him on the scale looking like death. So, yeah, for him to have Dan Argueta speak for him at the press conference, it's got to lead you to believe that the weight cut is absolutely killing the 38-year-old Cub Swanson here. So, great point. And we got, there's rumors the fight might drop out. Really? I wouldn't be surprised, man. You know, when you see the dude wearing sunglasses and, you know, it's still 2 days before the weigh-in and he can't talk, that is problems, man. That is problems. We got XA Money 823 saying, looking at some dogs this weekend. Yeah, there's some decent dog spots. I like Malkoon. I like CJ Vergara. I think you can even bet Mike Jackson just because we know very little about Pete Rodriguez. The Malkoon plus money is interesting, but we could have gotten much better plus money earlier in the week. The money is coming in on Malkoon here. Definitely don't like Asensaw as a dog this week. I think Victor Hendry is going to destroy him. Lucas Alexander on short notice. I wouldn't play that. Brandon Davis could be live. I think Misha's very live at plus 180. I'm going to keep watching that line. I might bet Misha this week. And Jordan Wright, I think he's live for that first round knockout, man. Why not? I mean, that's his win condition. And it's not like Todorovic has got this legendary durability, man. And when Jordan does land that first shot and he knows that it hurt his opponent, he swarms. He really does go to finish. He's got great finishing instincts. So if I was betting the Jordan Wright underdog side, which I'm not, I would look for a first round knockout prop around plus 800. Royval, dude, of course he's live, man. I mean, that guy he makes his opponents so uncomfortable. If Cub makes weight and looks good, Cub at plus 185, I think is a steal if he makes weight and he looks good. We've got to see him on the scale first, though. And Vivi, any women's underdog at plus 190 is live. They hit so often. It's crazy. You should not lay juice on women's MMA, man. It's so unpredictable. We got the Tajik Bey in the room, my guy, the GOAT, saying, I think Cub will pull out of this fight. I wouldn't be surprised, man. I wouldn't be surprised. That was very odd, having another human being speak for a grown man. That was just crazy. Bob Spikerman saying, I kind of like Mana Martinez by KO at pretty decent odds, but won't be nothing more than a quarter unit sprinkle. Yeah, I mean, Mana, when he wins by knockout. The only decision win came at the UFC level against Kennedy. But every other win prior to that was by knockout, and he's got serious power in his hands. So if he lands a big shot, Brandon Davis is another guy who cuts a ton of weight to make 135, and we saw that catch up with him in the Bakary fight where he got caught early and didn't have that durability that we got used to seeing from Brandon Davis, especially up at 145 when he was fighting killers like Zabit and Calvin Cater. Mana's live, man. Mana's live because Brandon Davis cuts too much damn weight to get down there. So, and we got Mushrooms giving his respect to the GOAT there. We got JR saying, Weezy, I'm a big fan. You're dope. Dude, I appreciate you, JR. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. Let me know if you got any questions about this event. And Tajik Bey waving the mushroom. We got Bob saying, really appreciate the breakdown on the Cub fight, Weezy. You're a truly masterclass, my friend. I appreciate that, Bob. That's what I'm here to do on Ask Weezy, man. It's my favorite show of the week because I don't have to do any preparation. I've already done just the tip. I've already done stat diggers. I've already done probability. I've already done the DFS show. So I'm ready to just talk. I can just turn on the camera and just talk. And you guys can ask me whatever you want. And I've got everything in front of me. This database is chock full of stats. We got King Bicky in the room saying, I like Cub in this spot. Training with Dillashaw when their camps align. Our iron sharpens iron. Yeah, man. Just got to see if, remember when Dillashaw cut down to 125? I kind of feel like Cub cutting down to 135 could look like when Dillashaw cut down to 125. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, you're killing yourself to even get to that weight. You couldn't possibly fight your best down there. So that's what we got to see. We got to see Cub on the scale. Mushroom saying Swanson KO, and he's saying Grasso round 4. I like those spots, and especially if Grasso gets the job done, it's going to be late, I think, because we've seen her be very well conditioned, and we've seen her carry her power late in fights. I mean, she's got nice hands. So very interesting. And Victor saying, what's up to Papa Chuck? And we got ring-a-ding-ding Lamar Lockett in the room with a $2 super sticker. Appreciate you for hanging out, Lamar. Appreciate you supporting the channel, keeping the lights on here in Uncle Weezy's studio. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thank you so much for the donation. It is much appreciated, Lamar. Let me know if you have any questions, brother. Of course, I'll answer them for you. And we got the smartest man in the world, the man who turned himself into a pickle and then got washed into a drain and then had to fight cockroaches and then wound up going into a toilet in some kind of a Russian mob house and using automatic weapons to get out of there. Rick Sanchez, the smartest man in the universe, saying he likes the Grasso round 4 mushroom. And if the smartest man in the universe likes it, you might want to go and put a little bit of money on Grasso round 4. Maybe you can pay your next mortgage payment with it, as Grasso round 4 is plus 2,200 on Bet Online. Let's get it, you guys. Let's cash that ticket. Grasso round 4 plus 2,200. That would have me cheering, man. And then we could get Araujo round 4 plus 4,000, but I think that she gets gassed before Grasso does. And then, of course, what does the GOAT do? He does GOAT things. Ring a ding ding. $5 donation from everybody's favorite GOAT of the MMA community, Mr. Tajik Bey. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for hanging out with us. Let me know if you have any questions. And I appreciate the donation as always, brother. Much love. Alex Ramirez, the general in the room, is taking notes. And we got Lou Betya in the room, who hosted the DFS show over on Pub Sports Radio earlier today. And one of the big dogs over at the MMA Engine, our guy Lou, saying, I have a question about UFC 280 if you have time, Weezy. What hair product do you think is best to avoid frizzy nature for an early pay-per-view? I'm thinking Pantene. Please advise. So I use Moroccan oil hair products, Lou. Most of you people probably would like to talk about this. I do talk way too much about MMA on this channel and not nearly enough about hair care. And maybe I'll start another channel for that. But look, if you're worried about frizz, the very first thing that you have to understand, Lou, is you can't wash your hair every day. All right? You're stripping out all those nutrients, all those natural oils. Those natural oils are what help you avoid the frizz. Okay? So first of all, stop using so much shampoo. Second of all, conditioner, my friend. Always use conditioner after you use shampoo. I can't stress this enough, okay? If you're not using conditioner and then putting a little bit of Moroccan oil in your hair after it's been conditioned, you're just leaving out 80% of the potential of your hair. So look, can't be washing your hair every day. Let those natural oils build up. I don't use Pantene. I use Moroccan oil products. And if you join the Patreon, Lou, I'm going to start. Actually, you just inspired me to give some more hair care tips, because you guys know that silky hair, like this beautiful knot that you see back here, doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into this. So appreciate you, Lou. That's a great fucking question. We got King Bicky. Where did you find Doesn't Go the Distance already? So that was on FanDuel like a while ago. I made that bet. I feel like it was already almost a month ago when Brady was like, dude, FanDuel made a huge mistake. Get in there, nephew. So I think it was a while ago. So sometimes these big fights, the marquee fights, they'll open up those props super early And this one, in this case, that was a FanDuel line. If you go, you can see it here where they opened it. And if you click on that line, so the fight doesn't go to decision minus 350, you can see that that opened on minus 172 on September 23rd. So the early bird always gets the worm. You know, part of being a profitable MMA gambler is sitting there refreshing the page, waiting for those opening lines when the vultures haven't picked out all the value yet. So it opened at 172 and it stayed there for about a day. And then it went to minus 210 and then it immediately went to minus 350. So FanDuel's wearing a shitload of exposure on the fight doesn't go at minus 172. And they're probably not going to want a lot more exposure to this fight, especially to the time props. So, but I'd like to thank them for screwing up that line because I love that 5-unit bet at minus 176. Bilal is training with Islam. Jesus Christ. Man, maybe I should just bet him now. Yeah, he's going to need that against Brady, though, you know, because if Brady does get him down, I mean, Bilal is going to have an extremely hard time getting that dude off of him. Brady is a incredible grappler, fantastic grappler. So, yeah, Bilal's going to have to keep this fight standing, but Bilal's got great footwork and he's constantly moving on the feet. He's going to be a moving target for Sean Brady to try and take down. And I'm sure that he's going to have something for him every time he shoots in. So that is something that we can absolutely look forward to here. This is such a great fight, Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Such a high-level fight. I cannot wait to see that fight. But I think that, you know, I'm a huge Bilal Muhammad fan. The Cuban Assassin is in the room saying Michael Jackson is fighting on this week's card. I had to pull out that LaToya Jackson Playboy with the full bush. Oh, my God, that brings me back. I remember that from when I was a kid. LaToya Jackson was a hot mess. She had mental problems, man, and she looked like, oh, what a mess she was. I cannot. What a fucking call by the Cuban Assassin, the LaToya Jackson episode of Playboy. Oh, my God. Cuban Assassin, you're always making me laugh in here, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, Weezy, did you get to try that Tequila Aditivo yet? I did not. I got the not the Centenario. Oh, see, they didn't have it at the Beer Temple where I go, where they've usually got a really good assortment of all kinds of hard liquors. So I do have to try that one still. But I bought a bottle from a 1 liter bottle from the Beer Temple, which is a really good one. I forget what it's called. It starts with the C. I'll let you know. But it was very, very good. And I've got to try that Aditivo yet. Do you think Serkinov can take down Menafield, says T-Rex? So Menafield's got excellent takedown defense, and he's just an absolute tree of a man. You know, I mean, the guy looks like he could squat a bus, and it looks like he could bench press a train. And, you know, the takedown attempts that I've seen against him recently looked uninspired, and it looked like Alonzo could pretty much stuff anybody's takedown in the division. But he's not fighting great fighters. That's just plain and simple. He's not fighting guys that are great wrestlers. And Misha Serkinov is a great wrestler. He's got that V at the end of his name. So you know that he's of Russian descent. You know that he's been on those mats. You know that he keeps his feet moving when he gets those double legs, man, because it's never easy. You got to keep your feet moving. You got to drive through your opponent. Can't get lazy. So Misha's the guy who I think can take down Alonzo. Now, Alonzo's a fantastic athlete and ridiculously explosive. So he's live to knock out Serkinov. We've seen him get touched and just get the lights shut off, has Serkinov. But if this fight gets to the ground, man, Serkinov is a very, very talented submission grappler, and he's very tricky. The Peruvian necktie that he got against Crute was absolutely spectacular. And you don't see guys going for those champagne submissions too often. But a guy like Serkinov, he's got super long arms, great front chokes, and he's a far better grappler. He's a more well-rounded mixed martial artist than Alonzo Menifield. I think Alonzo Menifield is extremely overrated. I feel like the takedown defense is there, but the volume isn't. The minute winning isn't. He can offensively wrestle against guys with zero ground game, but he can't wrestle against Misha Cirkunov. He would be absolutely stupid as a fighter to go out there and try to grapple Cirkunov. That's not going to work for him. He's going to get submitted if he tries to take Cirkunov down. But Cirkunov will be trying to take him down. I think he's very live in this spot. I'm waiting to pull the trigger because I think I might even be able to get better than plus 180. But I think he's extremely live. I might just do 1 unit on Vergara, 1 unit on Cirkunov, and hope that one of them comes through and it's a profitable day. And I don't think either one of their opponents are that much better than them. So, yes, I think it's definitely possible because Cirkunov is a much better wrestler than the last few opponents that Menifield has had. And Tajik Bey says Misha's definitely live. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. This dude, and there's a lot of people talking like Menifield's this way better striker than Cirkunov. It's not the fucking case. Menifield's not a great striker. He's a powerful, athletic, explosive guy who has one punch knockout power. He's a shitty striker. And if he throws a bunch of leg kicks against Misha, he's getting fucking taken down. That's the thing. When, those weapons aren't available against guys with really good ground games, with good blast doubles. You're not throwing naked leg kicks against guys who can take you down because you're going to have only 1 foot on the mat when you're throwing that thing. And if they time you right and you keep going to it without setting it up properly, you're going to get taken down. And it might only take 1 takedown from Cirkunov to get a finish here. We got Brian in the room taking notes. We got Jay saying, hey, Weezy, how likely do you think Davis can implement grappling heavy game plan? Having second thoughts on betting Mana, too inactive in the stand-up. So, look, we haven't seen it much from Brandon Davis. Brandon Davis has attempted. Let's have a look. See. Here we go. Let me mute this for just a second while I. All right. Brandon Davis has only attempted 11 takedowns in 9 UFC fights. And Brandon Davis has a grand total of 6% control time in his 107 minutes in the UFC cage. So 5 takedowns on 11 attempts and about 6 to 7 minutes of control time. I don't think it's very likely that he implements a wrestling heavy game plan. And even if he does, I don't know if he wins enough minutes with that wrestling to win the fight. So I don't think it's likely. Brandon Davis attempts 11, his opponents attempt 55. So his opponents have been way more likely to wrestle than he has. And Mana has actually gotten 2 of the 3 takedowns that he's gotten. And he's gotten a little bit more control time. So, if you look at Mana in only 3 fights has 2 takedowns, it's probably even more likely that Mana gets a takedown just based on the raw numbers that we have here. So, yeah, I mean, I think Mana wins this fight. I'm picking him to win it. But Brandon Davis is a good all-around fighter. He's pretty good everywhere, and he's a huge fucking bantamweight. He's 5'10", 72-inch reach. So he's difficult to deal with. His size it poses problems for certain fighters. But Brandon Davis has absolutely been in there with some killers. So, I don't think it's that likely that he does that. Daz Files, we got him with the tears of joy. Love it, my man. We got Ice Viking saying, you can't use too much shampoo or else you won't be able to find those greasy parts. See? Look, I mean, Ice Viking knows what's up, dude. We got Local Man Shakes Fist says, Islam inside the distance plus 250 was even. I missed that line. I should have taken that line. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's minus 180 on the money line, and then they're going to say that this fight finishes inside the distance 80% of the time, and they want to give you plus 250 inside the distance. That is crazy. But you know what's even crazier, you guys, is Victor De Jesus's generosity. Jesus Christ, Vic, you got to be kidding me, man. Unbelievable. $100. Ring a ding ding. Oh, yes. Dude, Victor, you absolutely made my week, my man. Thank you so much for the generous donation. My God. And he says, ended up plus 10 units on UFC Vegas 61. Mostly thanks to the info I got from Probability. All your hard work is appreciated. Here's 1 unit on me. Put it on Bilal. My man, I don't even know what to say, Vic. That is so generous. Thank you so much. I'm going to have a bottle of Adictivo tequila on you. And that calls for a little sip of Remy Martin right here, a little sipping on yak in celebration to the incredibly generous donation from Victor De Jesus. I appreciate you, brother. Tajik Bey appreciates you, my brother. My God, man. You guys are the best. Vic saying, hey, Weezy, how do you like Firo's chances against Chukagian? I love Firo, but this is definitely a step up. Not sure if I want to smash that line yet. Look, I'm a huge Manon Firo fan. One of my favorite female fighters in the division. But if we're being honest with ourselves as gamblers, this is a striker versus striker matchup. Both of these ladies have adequate ground games. But Chukagian's won a lot of close decisions, and she's been in a lot of close fights against the top of the division. This is a step up for Firo. But laying the juice on her at minus 200 in some spots, minus 178 is the best spot that we can find. She opened at minus 175 on Bet Online, got bet down to minus 250, and then the market is bringing her back towards the opener right now. Look, I think Manon does win this fight, but there's no way. Look, one of the best ways to avoid laying juice on fights where you shouldn't be laying juice is to say, are the skills measurable at the end of the day? I mean, what does Manon do well? She manages distance. She point fights. She has great power. But she's a master of hitting her opponents and not getting hit. Look at her numbers. Let's scroll out here. Let's look at Manon Firo's numbers. And if you guys want these early UFC 280 stats, join the Patreon. They're already there. Manon Firo is landing 6.6 significant strikes a minute and absorbing 2.52. Talk about point fighting. Talk about hitting your opponent when they're not hitting you. Talk about winning minutes. I mean, Manon is doing that so well. 70% striking defense. She's a lot more accurate than Chukagian. She's better defensively than Chukagian. But they both do the same things well, right? But I think Manon is a little more likely to wrestle. I think she's a lot more likely to wrestle successfully. I think that's one thing that people keep forgetting about Manon Firo. They see her strike, they see the karate style, they see the distance management, and they say, man, somebody's got to take this girl down. Manon's got a great ground game. You can watch her debut. It was against Leah McCourt at a catch weight of 138 pounds. And Leah McCourt is spamming takedowns on Manon, and Manon just keeps getting up. She kicked her ass for the entire fight. I don't know how the judges came out with Leah McCourt winning that fight because she did no damage at all, and Manon was just piecing her up on the feet. So Manon's ground game is a lot better than everybody thinks it is. So I see why people are laying the juice, but at the same time, I think that this is a point fighter against a point fighter, and Manon's going to be at a 3-inch reach disadvantage and a 2-inch height disadvantage, and they're about the same age, but Chukagian's a lot more experienced. She's got 11 more fights at the UFC level, and she's been fighting the much more experienced competition, and her wins are over much more experienced competition. So I just don't think that Manon is that much better anywhere than Caitlin Chukagian to to justify minus 200 on the money line. That being said, I hope Manon wins this fight. I think she's a lot more exciting than Caitlin Chookagian is, and I think that she's a lot more marketable for the women's flyweight division. I think she could actually maybe give Valentina Shevchenko some problems, but this is the next step. If she beats Chookagian, man, she's on the fast track. Maybe one more fight to the title. Maybe just she goes straight to the title, because it's not like 125 is a division that hasn't been cleaned out yet by the champion Valentina Shevchenko. She's just destroyed everybody and nobody's left. So if Manon gets a big win over Chookagian here, she could be next for the title. So and then we've got Bob Spikerman saying, yeah, I mean, I love Fioros, but I don't know if I want to smash that line either, Vic. I'm not smashing the Manon Fiorot line. As a matter of fact, I kind of hope she goes to minus 250, and then I'll probably put a unit on Chookagian or to maybe win by decision, because she's not fucking finishing Manon Fiorot. Nobody's finishing Manon Fiorot. Bob Spikerman saying, I really like Omar Gadzhiev at plus 150. Yeah, I like him too, dude. At plus 150, especially, Abubakar Nurmagomedov drops the ball at minus 400. This guy got submitted by David Zawada. David Zawada is 1-4 in the UFC, and his one win came against Abubakar Nurmagomedov. This guy is very underwhelming. And I think that, I mean, where is Abubakar Nurmagomedov better than Omar Gadzhiev? Other than the fact that Abubakar has fought the better strength of schedule up to this point in the career. But, and also, Gadzhi's moving down a weight class here. He's probably going to be much bigger than Abubakar. Let's see how much bigger he is than Abubakar, and let's see how many times I can say Abubakar before the end of Ask Weezy tonight. And so where is this fight? Here it is. We got Gadzhi, Omar Gadzhiev against Abubakar Nurmagomedov, the Syllable Bowl. And Gadzhi, a couple inches taller, but he lied about his height. He was supposed to be 3 inches taller than Caio Bahayo, and he was 3 inches shorter than Caio Bahayo. So I have no fucking clue how if he's really 6'11", but he's younger. He's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage here. But Gadzhi's been fighting at middleweight, so he's coming down to fight Abubakar, but Abubakar more experienced. But Omar Gadzhiev fought, Caio Bahayo, while Abubakar is in there with guys like Jared Gooden, David Zawada, a draw against Bojan Velikovic. Yikes, man. Got subbed by Pavel Kush when he was like minus 400. I think people just thought he was Khabib or something, but he's not. Jesus. Is his competition that bad? Yeah, David Zawada and Jared Gooden. Combined record of 2-9. Oh, my God. Yeah, I like Omar Gadzhiev too, dude. I mean, I don't think Abubakar Nurmagomedov is any good at all. So, yeah, at plus money, it's the plus money side. So I don't hate it at all, man. Mitchell Cordair is saying, I get the second guessing, but I feel better because Manon went to glory with James Krause this last year. So he usually has a good game plan coaching going in. Yeah, I like the fact that he's with James. James is a great coach, got a great gym there. And then if you want the best in adult dating, if you're looking to get laid and then kick the girl out of your place immediately after, and she's not going to be mad at you and she's going to come back next week, you got to see my guys over at Tinder-hot.xyz-heart with the arrow through it. Best adult dating site by far, the best adult dating site that there is. You've got to go check out my guys over there. Holy shit, are they? All right, I'll get them out. And ring a ding ding, you guys. Holy shit. Jay with a donation from Canada, my man, saying it already went pretty big on Aljo at minus 160. I think the line is off. How do you see TJ possibly winning? In my opinion, Aljo is too big, strong, athletic for TJ. Well, I mean, if TJ keeps it standing and outpoints him from distance, and shows that speed, if he's still using that EPO and doesn't get tired and he can bounce around like that actually for 5 rounds and keep that pace for 5 rounds, then yeah, potentially, we could see him. Look, TJ is going to try to fucking cheat. The guy's cheated for his entire fucking career. So You always have to mix that in, dude. I mean, the guy is going to try to fucking cheat. He's going to try to get any advantage that he can. He's been doing it for his entire career. So Aljo's going to have to really get this guy down. But TJ's got a good wrestling base. Been wrestling since he was a kid. It's a great fight. It's a great fight. But Aljo's the champ. And his grappling is just next level. I mean, he's so tricky with his submissions and his back takes. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one plays out. But honestly, Jay, I've got to look way more into that fight. You know, these title fights, they take a while to tape. You know, like I can usually only do 2 title fights in a day because you're watching a lot of 25-minute fights. Sometimes you have to watch multiple of them. And I'm going to have to watch TJ against Corey Sandhagen again. I want to see how he deals with that length because he just kind of put him against the cage. You do that kind of shit against Aljo, he's going to start trying to sneak underneath your armpit and get around your back, man. He's going to try to get one of those long-ass arms around your neck. So I don't know if he can use the same game plan that he did, that stalling game plan, that holding Sandhagen up against the cage game plan. So, yeah, I've got to look into it more, Jay, but it's going to be a damn good fight. And we got JR in the room doing what I always forget to do, which is remind people to hit the like. I appreciate you guys hitting the like. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Go subscribe over at the MMA Engine if you haven't already. Appreciate all you guys hanging out. Appreciate the generous donations here tonight on Ask Weezy. I couldn't ask for a better audience to talk to, you guys. It really means a lot. Melon JS saying, Jan by sub at plus 2,000. When someone has a way higher level of skill in the wrestling, O'Malley is so untested. And that is so right. O'Malley is so untested in so many different aspects of MMA. The guy is so untested. It almost looked like in the Sukumtov fight, it almost looked like Sukumtov threw the fight. I mean, how do you break somebody's leg and then lay on top of them for the last 4 minutes of the fight? You know, honestly, I mean, you know, O'Malley is a very likable guy. He's a really, really fun fighter to watch if you give him the kind of fights where he can show off his skill set. And his skill set's fantastic. He's just a pleasure to watch on the feet. But my God, if you like watching Russian dudes torture people, you gotta love Peter Yan. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. You got to have a sack on you in order to even get in the cage with this fucking guy. He's a killer. He's from Siberia. You know, they just fight to exist in Siberia. You know, I mean, every day they fight just so they can see another sunrise. And I don't know why they would want to living out there, but man, oh man, I mean, I really think that Peter Yan's going to put this kid through fucking hell. And, you know, the thing that I'm thinking about max betting Peter Yan, but I've got to take the shit out of this fight. The level of competition, first of all, isn't even close. Second of all, the fact that Peter Yan was able to take down Aljamain Sterling 8 times in their first fight, and like Aljo couldn't do shit about it, was shocking. That was a new level to Peter Yan's game that we really hadn't seen prior to that. Prior to that, everyone just thought of him as a boxer, and then he was toying with a grappler, the pedigree of Aljamain Sterling on the ground. It was something to watch, man. So, I mean, I think Yan is going to destroy this kid, but I mean, he's got to fight smart, and he's got to come out of the chute marching Sean down. And you know, it's kind of funny. Go back and you watch the O'Malley against the kid with the Mountain Dew colored hair, who got his ass shaved by Canetti. What the fuck is his name? Montino, right? Dude, Montino is just walking forward the entire fight. And look at Sean. He's taking huge, deep breaths at the end of the second round. Montino's pressure was getting to him. And Montino couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. I mean, imagine if that's Peter Yan walking him down. And this dude can't get his feet set. He can't set up his strikes he can't set up his punches with his kicks. Dude, if Peter Yan just marches this kid down, he could fucking just, put his head through the cage. So, yeah, I think Peter's going to destroy him, man. Jan by sub at 2,000, it could be interesting. But O'Malley's got some tricky jiu-jitsu on him, and he's very, very long. Uncle Weezy, my kneesy, let's get that bag, says my guy TJ Spartacus. What's up, dude? Good to see you in here, man. We got Jeff K in the room saying, let's go. Just got back from the Who. The Who? Are they all alive, dude? Is Roger Daltrey still alive? Is Pete Townsend still alive? Those guys are alive? Dude, I was like 17 when the Who did their last concert. Are you fucking serious? Are they still playing shows? Oh my God. They were supposed to hang it up years ago. And then, guys, look, if you're really looking to get laid, and I mean really laid, you want to lay some pipe, you want to get some ass, you got to see my folks over at the tinder-hot.xy. If you want to get laid and you're going to any sites that don't end in XYZ, what are you doing? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just sometimes I entertain myself too much, man. Just got back. And Boob says cat. Yes, there's definitely a cat in this house, you guys. We got Melon JS saying, what do you think about TJ shooting on Aljo and winning minutes there? Aljo is a 41% takedown defense. I think TJ outguns Aljo everywhere, honestly. Well, that could be a potential way for TJ to win minutes in this fight if he does want to go to his wrestling. And what are TJ's wrestling stats? That will be interesting to see because, okay. So TJ is 75 takedown attempts, and he's gotten 23 of them. Only 23 in 17 fights, about 25% control time, but allowing less than 1% control time against. So that is pretty damn good. And you look at Aljo with that 41% takedown defense, and Jan went 8 for 8 against him, I think. So that would be 12 out of 26 before that, which is just a little bit better than 50%. So yeah, Aljo seems happy to be on the ground, so maybe he will let TJ take him down, and then that way he can start working for sweeps and submissions. That's definitely a possibility, but I am going to say that we can't really count on TJ to wrestle that much, and to take Aljo where he's most comfortable might be a mistake, especially for somebody that's been as good of a minute winner on the feet as TJ Dillashaw has, throwing 12.47 significant strike attempts per minute, and his opponents are throwing less than 9, and he's outlanding his opponents by almost 2 significant strikes, but Aljo's outlanding him. Aljo's like doubling up his opponent's significant strikes. So that's also very, very, very impressive. So yeah, this is a great matchup. I really got to look way further into this fight. I haven't started taping it yet. So, but just being able to look at the stats can sometimes give you an idea of what you're looking for on tape. And it's a great place to start. Ice Viking saying that's where you met your wife at a Who show? That's crazy, man. That's awesome. I can't believe that they're still playing, man. That is just absolutely nuts. Victor Jesus saying, speaking of getting laid, any other story time with Uncle Weezy for tonight? By the way, awesome story last night on Just the Tip. Yeah, man. Oh God, what would be? I've got to think, Vic. I don't know if I have anything tonight for you guys other than the Tom and Jerry's story, which was absolutely hilarious. And then I was telling my girlfriend this story today when we were at lunch about the mushrooms and having to go to the emergency room because my buddy Don stepped on a nail. And yeah, that one was a fun one too, man. And I mean, a lot of these stories, like I've got to think of them in advance and think of the best way to take you through the story. The storytelling is an art, Victor, and I have to kind of like lay it out in advance in order to get it right the first time. But we'll do one for UFC 280. I mean, it's UFC 280, so we've got to have a very special Just the Tip for that. And Vic, I'd like to thank you again for that incredibly generous donation. How many people do we got in here right now? We got 36 of you guys hanging out in here on a late Wednesday night, almost midnight Central Time. I appreciate all you guys for hanging out tonight. I'm going to check out. I still haven't eaten dinner tonight, so I'm going to go have some chicken. But thank you guys for hanging out. Join that Patreon if you want to get access to these UFC 280 stats that I've already got out to the people that are on the Patreon, getting the prop templates. I'm going to be working on that late night tonight. I'll probably have it to you either late night tonight or early tomorrow. And I've only got one track bet so far for UFC. I'm taking a long look at that Serkinov money line. I'm trying to put together a greasy 4-leg parlay for you guys that I'll probably have out tomorrow as well. And I'm going to have to start figuring out what next week's story time with Uncle Weezy will be. Thank you guys for hanging out here for another episode of Ask Weezy. Appreciated breaking down UFC 280 with you guys. Appreciate the attention. Appreciate the generous donations to the channel. And we will see you guys tomorrow for the greasy 4-legger here on this channel. And then we'll see you guys for the fights on Saturday. I'll be doing that watch along on Pub Sports Radio. And then we'll be getting ready for UFC 280 with Stat Diggers with my guy Brady on Pub Sports Radio on Sunday night. God bless each and every one of you guys. And I will see you tomorrow for the greasy 4-leg parlay. Good night.